Actually. All right. Hey, my name is David Park from Platform Engineering. First of all, I would like to thank you for attending our second annual Amplify event. Last year turned out a little bit different than this year, seems like, but it's definitely an experience from LA to New York, especially the weather. It's really nice today. At the end of the day, from the platform engineering perspective, our mission is to innovate in technology to help our business grow. And our next vendor who comes up helps us do that in the underlying infrastructure that we provide our service to our customers. A lot of customers think this vendor is really a storage company, but it's no longer. They innovate in cloud computing, data storage, as well as virtualization. So without further ado, let me go ahead and introduce Dell and EMC.
Shake that.
Green button. Thank you. How's everyone doing today? Having a good day so far? So my name is John Hyde. I work here at Dell EMC. I'm traditionally from EMC, and I work in marketing, so please forgive me. My role, although I am in marketing now, really is about bringing technology and what you folks would think about when you start to talk to a vendor like Dell EMC and why you'd care. So I don't know if you heard, somewhere in the past couple of months, Dell and EMC were actually brought together. Anybody hear that? It was on MSNBC, I believe, that Michael Dell actually did an interview there. We actually made the Today Show in a couple of segments, which is pretty interesting. The largest single technology merger in history, $67 billion, to privatize EMC, bring us together with Dell Enterprise Solutions, and make a new company called Dell EMC. We're part of the Dell Technologies umbrella. Dell Technologies is Dell EMC, Dell Client Computing, which you're all familiar with. It's also inclusive of Pivotal. It's also inclusive of RSA, SecureWorks, VMware, a lot of different companies that you leverage technology from. If you looked at us a few years ago, we had a thing called the Federation of Companies that Joe Tucci talked about. And that was an interesting idea. Bring a whole bunch of offerings from infrastructure all the way through consumption and delivery and make it available through a single offering. It never quite worked right, in my opinion. You couldn't buy a federation solution as a single SKU on a single PO. And for me, that was a failure. For Joe, that was a failure. So we'll talk about why that matters, because I believe there is advantage in Dell EMC for NBC Universal. Let's look at the history a little bit. If you look at Moore's Law, and if everyone's familiar with Moore's Law, constant exponential growth. If you look at the math, every 5 years, there will be a 10x growth in compute and storage requirements. If you look at that number, by 2031, there will be a 1,000x increase in computational capability and storage requirements. Holy crap. What are you guys going to do? What are we going to do? Well, I believe that that amount of information and computational power gives you the ability to transform digitally, to provide digital transformation capabilities. Now, digital transformation in and of itself is interesting, but without understanding how it impacts your business, your consumers, and in fact you, it's useless. So we believe there are 3 key areas that digital transformation needs to address. Workforce security. Workforce, security, that's where I hit next. There we go. Security and IT transformation all need to be part of this. Now, what I'm going to tell you is IT transformation should come first. Why is that? You need to understand how to control costs and operationalize technology to deliver faster, easier services that your constituents can consume. When we look at that, digital businesses need to be able to be truly digital from a workforce perspective. And these 3 key tenets are really important to be able to deliver those things, but they must be driven by security. Security must be comprehensive from the consumer all the way through to the data center, because if you can't provide surety of data services and application resilience and availability, there's problems that are bound to happen. The path to a hybrid cloud has a couple of key features that are very, very important. You'll hear these terms called modernize and automate and transform. You must modernize your infrastructure. Why? Not because I want you to buy new things, but because traditional legacy infrastructures lack some of the key capabilities, such as true software-defined features. They're not founded on flash technologies, which are not just about speed, but these are actually about things like power savings and cooling savings and better availability, as well as performance. The fact that you can scale out. So I can start small and scale really big without any disruption to data services. I can do that at the application layer as well. They have to be cloud-enabled. I don't mean necessarily they operate in the cloud, but they have to act as if they are a cloud technology. They must be software-defined so that I can abstract from the hardware, so that I'm no longer bound to specific infrastructure requirements. And they must all be wrapped in security and trust. And I don't mean just data protection when I talk about trust. I mean trusting the partners that you work with to deliver turnkey services and capabilities, world-class service and support, and we've been in business for an awful long time. We're not a startup. We're not going to disappear overnight. There's always a risk in working with startups because of that. I'm not saying don't. They have great technology. That's why they're there. But understand what you're getting into when you do these things. You need a partner to help you transform. As was mentioned when we were introduced, we are a partner to help you. We're not here as a storage company. EMC was always perceived as a storage company. If you talk to David Goulden, you talk to Jeremy Burton, you talk to Michael Dell, we are a software company. We are an enabler of technology. We are an enabler of consumers. We're here to do things differently because I'm going to talk to you in a very technical sense for about 2 seconds. I want you to understand that cloud is far more than technology. There's the infrastructure and the application layer. And what I'm going to tell you is this is the what, and this is the how, but this has nothing to do with the why. Why do you do cloud? To consume differently, to enable your end users, to empower your business, and to differentiate. I'm going to use a term for you, build versus buy. And my belief is that you should only build what differentiates you from your competition. You should not focus time and energy on building things that somebody else can do better, faster, and simpler, and cheaper. Okay? So when I start talking about infrastructure, is that important? Are you guys differentiated in infrastructure? I doubt it. Are you differentiated in virtualization? I don't think so. Might you be differentiated in infrastructure as a service? Perhaps if you have multiple infrastructure service offerings. Are you differentiated at the PaaS layer, or platform as a service layer? Maybe. As Presidio talked about just a few minutes ago, and Chris mentioned, having a solid PaaS layer that you can develop applications against can be a differentiator if it's leveraged correctly. But where your true differentiation comes against your competition is the applications, how they're delivered, how they're consumed, and how quickly they can be re-provisioned. So when you start to look at data services, if we go back to that 1,000x increase by 2031 in data and compute, all that data can be leveraged for something if you have the applications that can utilize it. So the faster I can take that data, process it, understand it, ingest it, and make intelligent decisions from it, and then loop that back into the applications I'm using to deliver for my constituents, that's how you start to spin the flywheel that Jim Collins in Good to Great talks about to be able to move faster than your competition and simply outpace. You leave them in the dust because you're focused on innovation. You're not focused on infrastructure. This is the key. Now, what I'm going to tell you is this. On the right-hand side of the screen, it's been left blank. What I want you to focus on is the right-hand side is what matters, not the left. This is where you start to understand consumption and metering and usage and the fact that you can have all these key characteristics and capabilities that deliver differentiated services to your constituents regardless of where and how you do it. If you use the right governance and controls and the right abstraction layers, such as Cloud Foundry, to be able to give you a consistent PaaS layer regardless of where the application exists, in your data center, in a cloud service provider such as Virtustream or VMware's vCloud Air or any of our service provider partners that we have, if you use a common PaaS layer, that application can live in all those places at the same time, and you do not need to re-platform when you do that. Driving the right operational models helps you create a couple of key differentiators. And what I'm going to say is something very concerning to a lot of people in IT. You can't use the same old governance model. You can't use an ITIL process. You can't use the governance models that you developed for Oracle and SQL and Exchange and all these other things. You need to think about it from the application consumer first and help you drive decisions down the infrastructure to the point where you don't care. Because there is a point where you shouldn't care any longer. You should look at, is that the IaaS layer, or is that the infrastructure, or the virtualization layer, and everything below that becomes commoditized. Look up, not down. Your users are up here, not at the infrastructure. The key thing is you can deliver it on your terms. I don't really care if you want to deliver your own traditional cloud-enabled environment, such as what you're doing today with Enterprise Hybrid Cloud, or if you want to deliver a more cloud-native experience, which we can deliver through Native Hybrid Cloud, which is built on Cloud Foundry and OpenStack. It uses a common infrastructure choice. You can use vBlock, or you can use what we have in VxRack and VxRail technologies, which, interestingly enough, might be delivered on Dell servers pretty soon, and deliver turnkey cloud experiences. You can then use Cloud Foundry and stand them up internally and externally and give a consistent experience that gives you scalability and elasticity for both extensible and non-extensible workloads. Now, the building blocks in modern IT, and this is where I'm going to leave it for you. Where do you want to build? If we look at it as a pyramid, hardware, virtualization, orchestration, platforms, and applications, you need to decide where you want to draw the line for differentiation, and everything below that line, you should be buying it. You should not try to build these things. In my opinion, your time is better spent focused on your business and your outcomes. This is what Dell EMC comes together to help you deliver, because we can deliver all the way from the hardware all the way to the application layer and everything in between. You have choice. You choose what makes sense for your business. So I encourage you to let your transformation begin, and thank you for your time. Please visit us in the far left-hand back, and we'll be giving a drone away very shortly. Thank you again.